one of the lessons I've drilled into your head pretty early in life is when our championships won.
On the practice field.
On the practice field when no one's looking. So today we have Hannah, my daughter, in the session room today, and we're going to talk about setting and achieving goals. So much of what we do here at Culture Cures is to really help CEOs, leadership teams to really understand what their goals are and then execute against those goals, turning them into reality. And so, Hannah, you set some pretty huge goals in your life. And so why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about when you started playing soccer and what that's meant to you.
So I started playing soccer when I was about 3 years old, and I've always kind of really enjoyed it. So at 7, I was driving home from my club team practice, and I asked my dad if he thought I could make the U.S. women's national team one day.
You know, and so that's a pretty big question, right? But pretty big thing to think about, especially as a 7-year-old. And so I thought about it and I asked you some questions. And so one of the things I did was ask you, well, how many people do you think play soccer, right? Well, you were 7, you didn't have an exact number, but you knew it was a lot, right?
A lot.
Right, a lot of people. And then how many of those are females? That's maybe half, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. And then how many people make the national team?
About 30.
30, roster of about 30. And how many of those are goalkeepers?
About 3.
3. And then how many of the goalkeepers play?
Only 1.
Only 1, right? And so you're a goalkeeper. That's your chosen path and position in soccer. And so I looked at Hannah and said, okay, well, I want to answer your question of whether or not I think you can make the national team. But in order to do that, you have to answer a question for me. And I said, don't answer it. I want you to really think about it. And what was that question I asked you to think about?
You asked me if I was willing to outwork every other single person, because at the end of the day, only one person plays for goalkeeper.
Exactly. I said, are you willing to do what it takes to outwork 100% of those people every single day for the next 20 years?
Which is pretty big commitment.
Pretty big commitment, and that's why I didn't want you to answer it right away, right?
Yeah.
And so several days later, you came back, and what was your answer?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Let's do it, right? You said, I'm in, I think is exactly what you said. I'm in, let's do this. So now, right, you had to execute against that big, hairy, audacious goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so how have you done that?
I do a lot of trainings with a lot of various different coaches, whether that's with my club team or other goalkeeper-specific coaches. So I do one training that's at 7 a.m. on like Saturday mornings. So I get up at 5:45 to go train on weekends and do a lot of other outside trainings, and then my club trainings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of structured trainings, and then what do you do when you're at home when you're not in training?
I sometimes go on runs. I got a pair of running shoes recently to go on runs, and other than that, I work on just clean catching and stuff like that.
Yep, and dribbling the ball, juggling the ball, all of those things, right? Getting the touches in.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we talk a lot about is the power of leading indicators in business and life. What you do every day is a leading indicator of what you're going to get in the future. And so when you thought about your leading indicators, what did you pick as one of the number one leading indicators for you?
Just like you got to work hard every day and just like trying to find at least one thing to do every day. So over the summer, I decided that I wanted to train for 3,000 minutes in total. So I had about 3 months to do that. So it's not that much a day, but when you do it every day, it all adds up.
I love it. And so your leading indicator was exercise minutes. You created your own log and started logging it. And so at the end of those 3 months, where did you end up? Did you hit your goal of 3,000 minutes?
I did. I ended up getting, I believe, over 4,000 and maybe even close to 5,000 minutes.
Yeah, I think it was real close to 5,000 minutes. And so that's one of the other lessons that we learn is often we tend to underestimate what we can get done in a large period of time and overestimate what we can get done in a short period of time. And so having that longer mindset of being able to say, okay, over 3 months, this is what I want to do, and then execute against that every single day, we end up accomplishing a lot more than we give ourselves credit for in the beginning, don't we?
Yeah, I definitely did not think I'd get so far over my original goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And what impact did that have on your ability to play goalkeeper?
When I came back, a lot of the time over the summer, people will take a break. And so when I came back, I was still in shape and I was still focused on getting the touches and the practice in that I needed to get in.
Absolutely. And all of your coaches said, we can see the work Hannah put in over the summer, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I got that from a lot of coaches.
Absolutely. One of the lessons I've drilled into your head pretty early in life is when our championships won.
On the practice field.
On the practice field when no one's looking, right? When you're by yourself doing what you have to do to be successful. And that's one of the things that I'm so proud of you about is you've been able to do this completely self-driven. This is not me or your mom or your coaches driving you. This is a fire that burns within.
The funny part is I didn't even tell you or Mom that I was going to train for 3,000 minutes till I was already at least halfway done.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
So
you've absorbed the lessons that you hear me talk about with business and with life, and you've taken that and applied it to your own life in the way that worked for you. And so what are some of the big, hairy, audacious goals that you have for your soccer life?
Well, I would still very much like to make the national team when I get older. But last year for ODP, I made it to the stage where they have the players for a regional pool, but I didn't quite make it to the next stage. So this year, if I can go back, I want to work hard so I can make it to that next stage and just get one step further.
Yeah, so for those of you listening, the ODP is the Olympic Development Program, and that's one of the pathways to make the U.S. national team, the team that you see playing in the World Cup and in the Olympics. You made it just one cut away from getting the opportunity to go to Florida and compete to make that team. There's only, I think, 8 goalkeepers-ish that make that opportunity every year, and you were so close. And so one of the things I asked you, I don't know if you remember this, we were driving to training one day. This was a little bit later. I let you kind of think about, that opportunity and the fact that you were so close, but you didn't quite make it. And I was really concerned about where your head's at. And so I said, Hannah, where is your head? How are you feeling? What are you thinking? And what did you say?
Well, the year before that, I didn't make it to the stage I made it last year, so I was improving overall. So maybe next year, if I keep improving and keep working, then I will make it to that stage I wanted to get to.
And every day it's a competition with yourself, right? How do you make yourself better? How do you continue to identify your weaknesses, improve on your weaknesses, as well as identify your strengths and improve upon your strengths?
And even going and training, some days you won't always want to, but after it's done, it makes you feel good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things that you started doing is running with me and my friends at 7 o'clock in the morning on weekends when you're not training, when the training's unavailable. And sometimes we're kind of dragging to get to the park, right, to run with my friends. But afterwards, what do we always say?
That was fun.
It was fun,
pretty
and
fun.
we had a sense of accomplishment. There's a saying, I think it was Benjamin Franklin, I could be wrong, that said, eat the worm every morning, right? Start the day by eating the worm. Start the day by doing the hard thing, right? Because that gives you a sense of accomplishment, and then the rest of the day is kind of downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me in the session room. I just love the lessons that our viewers can take away from your experiences of setting big goals, creating a plan on how you're going to achieve that, and then the discipline and accountability within yourself to execute against that plan every single day. Great lessons learned. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Yep, definitely.